Okay, guys, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Danny Walsh, and I'm excited to have everybody here on this call. As the room starts to fill up, we want to make sure that everybody can hear what I'm saying, and I'm going to introduce Mr. Brown, the legend, Les Brown, in a few moments' time. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me and that everybody's comfortable. I would request that everybody keeps their camera off so we don't have a big bunch of distractions. As we're going through this, I've got questions from everybody, and I'll do my best to ask these questions. I'm going to ask that everybody keeps the video off for this session, and we will bring Mr. Brown in very, very soon. I'm just going to make sure everyone can hear us. Everybody's happy, everybody's comfortable. This is going to be probably 35, 40 minutes. I hope everybody's excited. Hope everybody's ready to get started with this, and I can see that we're going to get quite a few participants in here. At any time, if there's an issue or a problem, just let us know in the chat. You'll see that there is a little chat along the side to the right of Zoom. If you're on a phone, if you're on your iPhone or your Android device, the chat may be in a different place, but as said, I would just like it if you could all keep your videos off, and then we don't have unnecessary distractions. And what we're going to do is open up the camera in a moment and introduce the legend that is Les Brown. So, as we get close to the top of the hour, I'm going to request that Mr. Brown starts his video, and I'll make him a host of the meeting, and we can get started. So I've actually got two Les Browns in the chat, which is quite interesting, but I've requested that the video starts and we can get started without further ado. And we can unmute. Hey, here we go. Mr. Brown, how are you this afternoon, this morning, this evening? We may have an audio issue. Just let's sort out any technical problems. And just unmute the mic. So we go. We should have sound.
How can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. But how are we doing?
How are you doing it?
How are we doing?
I'm doing extremely well to be in your presence.
Well, like what I said, it's an honor to have you here. And as we've discussed earlier, we've got a few things that we want to go through. There's quite a few people joining us now on the call, but I guess we want to start. This session is recording, so if anybody comes in late, they will be able to get access to the recording. But it's going to be me and you, 30, 35 minutes at the most. And I'm hoping that we can get through a lot. How does that sound?
That sounds good to me. I'm ready, fired up, and ready to go.
Ready? Okay, so this is how I'm planning on doing this session, right? This is the plan behind it. A little welcome, which I guess we've done. I want to do a little bit of an introduction. If anybody doesn't know who you are, we're going to do a little questions and answer session based on some of the questions that people have already sent in. And we'll go from there, and hopefully maybe by the end of the call we can invite some folks to come live on the camera and ask some questions in person. If that sounds good, should we get underway?
That sounds good. Absolutely, that sounds great. I like your hat.
Well, thank you. I try my best. And we've got some exciting things to share with the guys on the call tonight, and I'm sure through the power of social media we can share this video far and wide. So without further ado, just for anybody in the world who doesn't know who the legend Mr. Les Brown is, just give us a little 2 minute of who we're talking to tonight.
Well, I'm first of all, I want to thank you for hosting this and thank everybody that's on the call. I've been speaking for many years. I used to think people in their 40s were old. 72, I feel like I was a waiter at the Lord. Where did the time go? And I have been speaking people to begin to realize that they have greatness in them in spite of their situation, in spite of their circumstances, in spite of the things that they have gone through, in spite of the things that they are experiencing right now. You know, I came up in a system in the United States where we didn't have 12 years of education. Now that I look back and see it, we had 12 years of indoctrination, an indoctrination to train people like myself that we were less than, to train people like myself that we were inferior. I remember, and I started thinking about it last night preparing for this call, getting on a bus. And my mother, I'm one of three, my mother, when she first adopted children, I'm one of the first three she adopted, my twin brother and I, and then my sister Margaret Ann, and then she adopted 4 of the children. And so I remember going downtown with her, and there were seats available in the front of the bus. And so I wanted to sit down like everybody else. We paid money like everybody else. And she kept pushing me, Leslie, go, Leslie. And I said, what's wrong? You can't sit here. I said, Mama, but it's packed back there. There are people standing back there. Well, that's where we have to go. We can't sit up here. Why? Because we're colored. And that bothered me. I remember working on Miami Beach with a guy named Sam Axelrod. I was 10 years old, and they used to have signs that said, Jews, dogs, and coloreds not allowed. That the culture that I came up in, the environment where I came from, that we were treated less than dogs. And since being involved in self-development, and I don't say this to impress anybody because there are people who have all kinds of stuff. When I was in India, they have caste systems. Life is not fair. What's most important is, how do you get through it? And we're doing a mastermind. I've learned some things. I told Tony Robbins, and one of the guys that's been in the industry for a long time, he had an infomercial. And Gunther Rinker, the company, they spent $1 million every day to have him on television everywhere. And I have a message and a story, and I wanted to make global impact. And I sent them my video and one of my speeches, and they said, wow, you're gifted, you're a powerful speaker, and you're Black. I said, I never would have known that if you hadn't told me. I said, thank you for letting me know. And so what they said was, Tony had the complexion of connection. I had the complexion of rejection. But let me tell you, the blessing that came out of that, I was so furious. I decided that I was going to make an impact with my life anyhow. I was going to reach people around the world anyhow, in spite of the fact that I did not have an infomercial, in spite of the fact that I did have someone to invest millions of dollars in me. And so we're going to spend 3 days in Kingston, Jamaica, in a very intimate setting that I've never done before, at the home where Bob Marley once lived, and with a limited number of people. And we're going to be up close and personal, sharing with people, number one, the strategies of how to transform your mindset. Number two, how to earn your first million. It took me 3 years to earn my first million in 1980. And that was before Facebook and Twitter and all of the various other platforms. What it took me 3 years to do would take a person today, and those who come to this conference that we're going to have at the Bob Marley mansion, it will take a fraction of the time. We're going to teach people how to tell their story. Your story has value. No one could have told me, given my beginning, born in an abandoned building on a floor with a twin brother, being adopted, one of 7 children. When I was in 5th grade, I was labeled educable mentally retarded, put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade, failing again in the 8th grade, no college training. Then I would be doing the work that I'm doing right now. we've had the opportunity to change millions of people's lives around the world. No one could have told me that when using the strategies that we're going to share with people, how to take your story and develop a level of credibility and have companies like AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, General Electric, IBM, Xerox hire you. I just spoke for the merger between DirecTV and AT&T. No one could have told me that was in my future. And I say to you, don't do what I did in this regard. I didn't do what I'm doing, I'm embarrassed to say, for 14 years, because I didn't believe that I, Les Brown, could be able to develop the level of credibility and the skill set to be able to earn the kind of money that I earned to transform people's lives. The easiest thing I've ever done was to earn $1 million. The most difficult thing I've ever done, and it took me years to do, was to believe that I can do it. I, Les Brown, adopted. To believe I, Les Brown, labeled educable, mentally retarded. To believe I, Les Brown, who's called the dumb twin, that I have the ability to do the things that I'm doing now. And what I know, and every time I go on stage and grab a microphone before an audience, I say to them, you have greatness in you. I don't know you, but here's what I know about you based upon my own experience. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. And the reason that most people fail, I've come to believe, number one, they don't have a coach or a mentor. Mike Williams, I encourage everybody to get the book called The Road to Your Best Stuff. Mike Williams, I wrote the foreword for that book. I was at a radio station in Columbus, Ohio, WVKO radio station. And at that time, I just saw myself as a disc jockey. I thought I would retire from radio. And it was different for me. I had a moment, I call them God moments. I was walking down the hall and Mike was my newsman. And he said, hey, Brownie. I said, what is it? He said, you know why you go see those guys, Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and Earl Nightingale and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale? I said, yes, because I find their message motivational. I love that. He said, no, not just that. He said, that's in you. You love that stuff. You're always motivating us around here. You have a little funny laugh. You're always entertaining us. I said, but Mike, I can't do that. I said, I don't have a college education. I never worked for a major corporation. And then he interrupted me. He said, Brownie, all of us are born the same way, dumb, naked, and speechless. You could learn.
And that message alone.
You can learn. And what I'm excited about, at this stage of my life, I'm in a place where Leo Tolstoy was. He said, as I face inevitable death, what in the meaning and purpose of my life that will not be undone or destroyed when I'm gone? And I believe that the people that I train and the lives that I transform and those individuals who transform lives and those individuals who train other people, that we're in God's pyramid, and that transformative process and all the people that will be impacted by that will not be undone or destroyed when I'm gone. So this is the first time that I have done this. I was going to wait till next year. And I decided not to do this. I had a friend named Miles Monroe. I wrote the foreword to his first book, Personal Potential. Mm-hmm. And I was in South Africa. We were there at the same time across the street from each other. My mind said, Miles is there. Go over and see him. So I went over and I said, may I see Miles? And the lady said, you're Les Brown. I said, yes. She said, he's conducting a session now with married couples. So I said, just let him know that I'm here. I assure you he'll come out. So she said, no, I don't want to interrupt him now. She said, I tell you what I'll do. I'll make it possible for you to have breakfast with him tomorrow morning. And this voice said to me, see him now. I said, ma'am, are you sure? You can't just let him know I'm out here? She said, no. I said, okay. So she said, be here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. I said, all right. I was there at 7. Hadn't seen my friend for a long time. And then I all of a sudden heard a sound. Mr. Brown? I said, yes. I turned around. She said, I'm so sorry. He left early. Oh, I said, okay. I'll see him when I get back to the States. And I was surprised. 3 weeks later, Miles died.
Have we lost the connection? Hope we haven't lost the connection in the middle of that. Is everyone still on? We'll try and get Mr. Brown back. If I am still here, I think there might have been a connection problem at their end. Seems like Mr. Brown's dropped from the conversation, which is unfortunate, but I'll do my best to get him right back, so don't worry about that. How interesting and how awesome a story, and what a poignant position in the conversation to actually drop. I've got a Facebook message direct straight through to the guys inside. See if we can get you back, and we can carry on. It was doing so well. I will send the message with the link to my buddy Georgie, who's got the direct line. He's sat there, he's helping. I don't know what's gone on there. We will try and bring this back as soon as we can. They're working on it right now as we speak. But how sort of, I guess, poignant and how sort of important that message, because in the face of all of that adversity and in face of all of those problems and all of those things that were, you know, Mr. Brown's talking there, and he was a millionaire a year before I was born. You know, I was born in 1981, and the amount of things that I believe I've accomplished in my life in the short time that I've been here, you know, think of all the things that, you know, like you said, before the internet, what would we even do without the internet? All right, where would our businesses be at this point without the internet? So while we try and get this back and try and get Mr. Brown back on the call, it's important, I guess, to think of just how blessed we all really are. The fact that we can all be on a call together, we can all communicate, we can talk to each other around the world in an instant. You know, I spoke earlier on my live stream. Here we go. I think we're back in business. How are we doing, sir? Let's see if we can get you back on and get the microphone working. So let's see if we can get this stuff working. I'm hoping we can have no problems, and I want to go into some questions when we get back on. Is everything working? Can you hear me? See if we can work the magic. So let's unmute the mic.
Hey,
yes. So we was at a critical point there, and I guess we've sort of pushed into.
Wait a minute. Now, what I'm doing now. Hey, we can use this. Open this up for me, please.
Yeah.
I can just put this in here. Where there's a will, there's a way. The computer's not doing it, so now I'm on my cell phone.
Yeah, and how amazing is it? And compared, I was just saying to the guys that, you know, you said that you was a millionaire in 1980. I was born in 1981, and despite all of the problems and all of the tribulations and all of the things that literally oppressed you in your life and all of the things you've just discussed, you've still managed to come out the great person, the legend that you are today. What advice would you give to anybody that's just starting out right now, bearing in mind that we do have the internet and we do have all of these things that we can instantly communicate? What would be the one single piece of advice that you could give?
In order to change human behavior, and I know, there's a commercial that says, I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. I don't believe there's anyone on the planet who's speaking and training who's had my experience. And what I've discovered, that in order to change human behavior, you have to have your story interrupted. And what I mean by that, how people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. And that's why we're doing this special mastermind retreat in Kingston, Jamaica. Because for 3 days, it will be an immersion process. For 3 days, the stories of the individuals there will be interrupted.
in order to, when we speak or when we're coaching, we were training, what we do is distract, dispute, and inspire. And give you a case in point. When I was in the 5th grade, I was labeled educable mentally retarded. My mother, she adopted us. She only had a 3rd grade education. So when they invited her to school and said, Leslie is slow, he is slower than Wesley and Margaret, and he needs to be put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. He's educable mentally retarded, but this will be better for him. So my mother, she didn't know. She only had a 3rd grade education. She thought they were doing things that were good for me, and they really weren't. They labeled me. You label jars, don't label people. Mm-hmm. And then I failed again in the 8th grade because no one rises to low expectations. There's an experiment that was done years ago by a lady named Jane Elliott called Brown Eyes, Blue Eyes. And she took these kids and said, the kids with the blue eyes are inferior to the kids with the brown eyes. And she had them to treat them differently. Sure enough, the kids with the blue eyes who were doing well academically, their grades plummeted. And the kids with the brown eyes whose grades weren't that good, their grades soared. Then the teacher, after 3 weeks, Jane said, I lied. It's the kids with the blue eyes that are superior, and the kids that the brown eyes, you are inferior. Now, mind you, I came up in a culture that the indoctrination was, you are inferior, white people are superior. 12 years of that indoctrination. So, and then the same thing happened when it was reversed.
Yeah.
The kids who were told they were now smart, their grades began to soar. Why? Because they were treated differently with high levels of expectation. How do you change human behavior? Through significant emotional event. And what we have to do is interrupt our thinking. When Dr. Carter G. Woodson said, if you can determine what a man shall think, you never have to concern yourself with what he will do. He said, if you can make a man feel inferior, you never have to compel him to seek an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. And if you can make a man feel justly an outcast, never have to order him to go to the back door. He'll go without being told. And if there's no door, his very nature will demand one. And so at the retreat, in order to change human behavior, you have to create a significant emotional event. You got to invest in yourself. I went to seminars and workshops over and over and over again. Warren Buffett, who has billions of dollars in real estate, billions of dollars in the stock market. Warren was asked in the middle of the recession, what's the most important investment a person can make? And he said, in themselves. In themselves, not in the stock market, not in real estate, in themselves. Mm-hmm. We have greatness in us, but we live in a world where we've been told more about our limitations rather than our potential. We live in a world where the government is saying, hey, do as I tell you to do, and I'll teach you how to live the really great life. Absolutely. And then ministers saying, do as I tell you to do, give me 10% of your earnings, and I'll teach you how you can live after you die. Okay. So I said, I want to live now. My mother always told me, you make your heaven or hell right here on earth. And I want to live right here, right now. I wanted to buy my mother a home. Absolutely. And so Mr. Washington, when I met him, a young man, go to the board and work this problem out for me. Oh, I can't do that, sir. Why not? I'm not one of your students, sir. Leave me be. I'm not one of your students. And the other students started laughing, saying, he's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley's smart. He's DT. He said, what's DT? He's a dumb twin. And I said, I am, sir. Leave me be. And he came from behind his desk and he looked at me. He said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality, young man. And he looked at me with the eyes of Goethe, who said, look at a man the way that he is, he only becomes worse. But look at him as if he were what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. He interrupted my story. My mother said, Leslie, stop fighting those kids when they call you the dumb twin. Sticks and stones Stop fighting them. My mother was wrong. Words do hurt you, and they hurt deeply. And I eulogized Mr. Washington last year. We called him the great communicator. He interrupted my story. Years later, he went blind from glaucoma. I had lunch with him at Dave's Deli in Liberty City. Took him home, put his hand on the doorknob, but before I opened the door, I said, there's something I want to say to you. He said, I know, Mr. Brown. You've been very quiet. I said, sir, I have enough money to pay for an operation for you. I've never known my mother or my father. You've been like a spiritual father to me from a distance. I watch you, I study you. And I'll pay the money for you to have an operation so you can see again. He said, Mr. Brown, I've seen a lot. I'm fine in the darkness. But thank you for the offer. I'm fine. I said, okay, but if you ever change your mind, let me know, because they have this new procedure at the University of Miami that can perhaps help you. He said, okay. So I opened the door. As he was going in, I walked away and I got to the gate. He said, Mr. Brown, come back. There is something you can do. And I came back. I said, what? Name it, sir. I'll do it. Just name it. What is it? He said, I don't know. What I said, what I did to impact you. I've had a lot of students. A lot of students, I've said the same thing, but you heard me. My own son been on drugs for 32 years. I've been talking to him. He hasn't heard me, but you heard me. He said, I don't know what I said and how I impacted you. He said, but here's what you can do for me, is pass it on.
Absolutely.
Pass it on. Nobody watch me and study me like you. Pass it on. And so this is where I am.
Yeah, and there's some really, really important points that we can take from that little segment of this session and this conversation. And I've had quite a few questions come in from different people, and a lot of them angle around those points where people are worried about what other people may say, worried about just getting started. They've not given themselves permission to go out and do something that really they should be doing. And some of the questions, for example, a question from Marsha is, how can she become more confident when presenting her own story? What would you say to Marsha to become more?
First of all, here is Serena Williams is the greatest tennis player on the planet. Richard Williams, their father, used to play and still do provide them with all my motivational materials. Here's something that's key, though. Even though she's a dominant player on the planet, perhaps the greatest who's ever played the game, she has a coach. I have a coach, Mike Williams. I want you to get the book called The Road to Your Best Stuff, young lady. The Road to Your Best Stuff by Mike Williams. I wrote the foreword for that. I have a coach, Muhammad Ali, greatest boxer in the history of the world. He said, I'm the greatest, but he never won a championship without Angelo Dundee. You can't see the picture when you're in the frame. You have to have somebody that can see what you can't see, somebody that can look at you with a trained eye, somebody who has a background of accomplishment that's operating where you want to go. When I saw Mike Williams, he was a speaker. I was one of his groupies. I loved him. I admired his content, how he delivered it. And I said, will you teach me how to do that? He said, are you willing to invest in yourself? I said, yes. He said, put your money where your mouth is. He said, you want to do this? Put your money where your mouth is. I did. From that time to this time, when I speak in the United States, I get $55,000 an hour. When I speak outside, I get $225,000 an hour. Now, I don't say this to impress anybody, but to impress you that the people who are attracted to this webinar right now, a lot of people who were told about it, they're not here.
Absolutely.
People that are attracted to my voice, they're either millionaires or millionaires in training. And so there's no accident. I believe that everything happens for a reason. And when we come to Kingston at the Bob Marley Mansion, and I'm excited about being there doing this training with the Mastermind and being up close and personal, I guarantee you people who come there, when they get to the front door, they need to shake someone's hand and say goodbye, because who they are when they come in, that person will be gone. I'm an assassin. I'll kill every mediocre demon in them. I'm an assassin. I guarantee you, you will die to who you are now to give birth to the greatness that is in you, ready to come out. There's a life that you have in you that's waiting for you to step into it. And we can't get there by ourselves. That's why we're talking where two or three are gathered. Gathered means nature, the nature of the mindset of the people that's engaged in the process. And so part of what you have to do is, one, get a coach, somebody who's accomplished and experienced that can do what you can't do, and demonstrating that, and that you invest in yourself. The other thing is put yourself in the community, and this is why we're doing this mastermind of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. There, I will tell you how, teach you and train you how to tell your story, videotape you, interview you, and extract that story. 2, show you how to organize it. 3, show you how to deliver the story. 4, how to make money with your story. 5, how to give free speeches and earn over $100,000 your first year. 6, how to create collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships, because you can't do it by yourself, that will enable you to create a global network. Your network determines your net worth. Many people try and do it by themselves. You can't do it by yourself. You need a team of people, a mastermind of collaborative, achievement-driven relationships. I can tell you that if you're the smartest one in your group, you need to get a new group.
and this for me is very important, because certainly over the last few years in my career, it's become more than apparent that you can't do these things on your own, and you do need to surround yourself with the right types of people who do want to lift you up and do want to take you forward. And I think that's an important message for all of the guys who are logged in to this webinar tonight, who are all listening, and everybody's striving for excellence in their own self, in their own life. Everybody's determined to reach that goal, but there still seems like there's anxieties and pressures and opinions and all of these things that are holding people back. And my good friend Anthony has sent in a question. He's a person who loves the crowd. He's great in a group of people, but when he stands up on stage, he still feels anxiety. And I guess there's 2 things about this. What type of anxiety is it that he's feeling? And indeed, when you stand up in front of crowds up to 80,000, do you ever still feel any kind of anxieties or anything like that? Where does that break and disappear?
Listen, I want everybody to go online and put in Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome. Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome. Listen to me. They had to come get me out of the bathroom. They knocked on the door. I locked myself in the stall. They said, Brownie, Dexter Yeager is stalling. They need you to come out now. I said, I can't come out now, Mike. And he said, why? I said, because I can't hear the voices. He said, hear the voices? Listen to me, man. You got to come out. They're waiting. There's over 80,000 people. He said, are you scared? I said, hell yes, I'm scared. So why do you think I'm in the bathroom? But I'm not doing number 2, I'm doing number 1. When I get excited, I have to pee. So anyhow, I'm sorry, behave. I'll behave. Whatever. I'm sorry, my medication wearing off. So anyhow, so he said, come out, Brownie. He said, you would make your mother proud by going up there speaking. I said, don't bring my mama into it, Mike. Come on, man, be fair. He says, no, Mamie Brown would be proud of you to see all these people here to hear her son. Come on, man, you can do this. And he said, and it's very important for you to have someone who can see what you can't see. Sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. And I knew Mike loved me. I knew he had my back. Even though we're just 2 years apart, he's been like a father to me. He's been a person of integrity, a person that I can trust. You know, and so I came out and he said, I'll be with you. And we were walking toward the stage. And then I asked everybody to pray for me. And he said, I'll be at stage right, Les. Just look at me, but pretend you're in your mother's living room. You remember when you had 5 people in your mother's living room that you talked to? You were teaching a class called Discover the Power Within by Eric Butterworth. I said, yes, I remember. Your mother was dying of breast cancer. I said, I remember, Mike, because I was trying to keep my spirits high. My rock, my support was suffering. He said, Brownie, I want you to speak with the same conviction that you spoke, that you were encouraging yourself. You knew your mother was listening in the other room. I want you to speak with that same conviction when you get on that stage. And tell them it's not over till they win. You fought and you've gone through a lot. And I come to believe that life, it's a fight for territory. And once you stop fighting for what you don't want will automatically take over. I'm a 21-year cancer conqueror because of God's grace and mercy. And I remember when the people at the Cleveland Clinic said the blood is your blood cells, your white blood cells. We would like to take them out and train them for 2 weeks and inject them in your body, and they will be able to identify the cancer cells and kill them, because cancer is metastasized to 7 areas of your body. And your PSA is over 2,400. 1 to 4 is normal. PSA stands for prostate-specific antigen, as you know, but for me, PSA stands for positively staying alive. And so I was smiling. And so she said, why are you smiling? I said, because 7 is... And so 7 is my lucky number. That means that cancer's getting the hell beat out of it right now. And sure enough, I came here in Cleveland to have an injection. I moved the date back in London, England from the 12th of November because of the schedule for the cancer treatment to January the 21st. I moved it back only to get here and them telling me, Mr. Brown, we don't know what happened, but guess what? What? Your PSA number has dropped dramatically. And guess what? What? We don't have to draw the white blood cells out of your system now. We don't recommend this. Something is going on here. I said, well, I believe my mother's on the other side. I got 2 mothers working for me. One that delivered me here, the other one that put me in her heart. They said, wait a minute, this is strange. And I want to say to the people that are listening, this mastermind is not for everybody. He who has ear, let him hear. We all have an energy signature. And there's some of you out there, and you know who you are, that it's time for you to do something radically different with your life, because Einstein is right that insanity is doing the same thing in the same way, expecting a different outcome. There's some of you out there, and you know who you are, that you have many toxic, negative, energy-draining people in your life that has compromised your power. Les, can I change them? No, it's a full-time job changing yourself. And that being a part of this mastermind of collaborative, achievement-driven relationships that we're going to have at the Bob Marley Mansion, it's going to transform your life because of the relationships that you're going to have around you, because of people that you can learn from and can grow from, and because I will be there and I get a chance to work with you up close and personal. Can you feel a brother up in here, up in here?
Without a doubt.
I tell you, man, this is a special time for me. I believe that God has given me grace and mercy to do this work. And I'm determined to come to Kingston, Jamaica. They said, I'm from Miami, Florida originally. They said my birth mother met a guy from Jamaica. They were cutting sugarcane, and he fixed up some jerk chicken and some curry chicken, and she got pregnant. I don't know, you know how stuff like that happens. It's something in the curry. So, but I'm looking forward to people that are ready to learn how to use their voice to speak to the world, to learn how to speak for corporations, to learn how to transform an audience, to transform people's lives with the technique, the method that I have used. And I've trained Johnny Wimbrey, who wrote the book, From the Hood to Doing Good. And now Johnny has earned over millions of dollars traveling around the world. Tracy Lynn, who has Tracy Lynn Cosmetics, and she's earned millions of dollars, used to travel with me, and I trained her. And now she has a multi-million-dollar business and speaking to people around the world. Ed Blunt, who's speaking to millions of people around the world that I've trained. So people who are serious, and you know who you are, who can hear me in your heart, not in your ears, I'm encouraging you, do whatever you need to do to be at this mastermind that will take place in Kingston, Jamaica.
Let's talk more
about
this.
Mansion.
Let's just talk more about this because I'm conscious of your time and I know you've got to jet off. I think you're going.
I'm fine. Talk to me. I'm fine, my brother.
You're off soon, and people are messaging us, and we're getting fantastic feedback in the chat room. And I think the mastermind itself, like you're talking about, there is an awesome offer on the table, and I will put the link in the chat because, like you said, you can command a huge fee for 1 hour of your time, and for what is, you know, you do have to invest in yourself, right? You do have to invest. That's important. Yeah. So there's always an investment, but for a reasonable investment, you can we can be in the same room having these conversations and building this power within and unlocking these demons out of your mind that's stopping people from progressing and keeping people held back. Because I know a lot of the people in this chat room, I know a lot of these guys are here today because they want to come to the thing in Jamaica. They want to come to other events that we do. And there's so many questions that are similar. What stops me from standing on stage? What do I do when people are negative around me? All of the things you've kind of covered as we've moved forward. And this event, this mastermind, I think is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for folks to just get started with the right help and support. And there's so many different things that people are messaging. As we're speaking right now, I'm getting messages coming through on Facebook, coming through on Instant Messenger, all of these different places. You know, we can talk, we can ask these questions all day long. What would be the final thing that you could say, apart from join us in Jamaica? What would be the final thing that you could say to the folks tonight if they're struggling or they're worried about the story and how to present it? What would be that one thing in a few minutes that you could say that hopefully will just push people to that getting started phase?
I'm glad you asked that question, because all the things that you mentioned and the blocks that people are dealing with, we're going to deal with that and even more in the training, in the mastermind. But here's what I want them to hear very clearly. I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't do what I'm doing for 14 years because I didn't believe, because I don't have a college education, I didn't believe that I could develop the level of credibility and a message that corporations would pay me for, and pay me more in 1 hour than I earned working for a whole month. And I was intimidated by people with college degrees because I don't have any. And I was at a training. Mike had invited me to go, and a guy was speaking. And there are times when you're in an audience and you feel he's talking to me or she's talking to me. And this is what I call God moments in life. There's Denzel Washington was in a movie called Touch and said there's before this and there's after this, and after this, nothing will ever be the same again. And I had one of those moments. This guy was speaking and then he stopped. And he said, wait a minute. He said, there's somebody here who should be up here holding this microphone, speaking to you. But he or she, they're seated out there listening to me. He said, I do this because I love to make money. I've earned over $10 million doing this. He said, but you want to do this because you want to change lives. And you can do that too. You can make money and you can change lives. And then he went on to speak. And then he said, Hey, person, you know who you are. You've stopped yourself because you focus on what you don't have. And I don't know what that is. But I can tell you it's not what you don't have, it's what you think you need that keeps you from standing up and speaking to the people that you were born to speak to. Maya Angelou said there's nothing as painful as an untold story buried in your soul, whoever you are. And he started speaking and then he stopped again. He said, I'm not going to say anything else but this. He said, the reason I'm standing up here holding this microphone and speaking to this audience where you are out there seated, wherever you are, and you know who you are. He said, I represent the thoughts you have rejected for yourself. I tell you, I was so broken. I stood up. I said, oh, God. I went outside. I had a dime to make a phone call. I called Mike Williams. I said, Mike, he said, Brownie, what's going on? What's wrong? I said, I'm not rejecting myself anymore. Do you hear me? He said, Brownie, take it easy. Hell no, I'm not. I'm not rejecting myself anymore. I'm not, Mike. I'm not. I'm going to do it, Mike. I'm going to do it. Please come help me, Mike. Please. I need you, Mike. I need you. You're the only person who believes that I can do this. My family don't believe me. They think I'm crazy. The woman that I was engaged to, she had a psychiatrist go to lunch with us. And she said, I'm suffering from delusions of grandeur. And I said, is that a nice word? And she said, no, you really got problems. My God, he came. 14 years I didn't do it. 14 years. That's why I said the easiest thing I've ever done was to earn $1 million. The most difficult thing I've ever done to believe that I can do it. And I believe that people who come and you know who you are, you won't let money stop you. You know who you are. You won't let distance stop you. You know who you are. And you know I'm the one. I take no prisoners and eat the wounded.
This is awesome advice, and something so powerful that I hope people can take away. Now I'm going to put the link to the Jamaica Mastermind into the chat room in a second, and it'd be great to see as many of these folks there as possible. We've not got a great deal of space. It is going to be an intimate surrounding. We are going to be close-knit. We are going to be having these conversations in detail, and I'm certainly, so excited, and, it's just one of those dreams, really, to get these people together, because we know, like you said, when people come out, they're going to be totally different than when they went in. And that, to me,
without any question. Without any question. Trust me, I'm an assassin. I'll kill every mediocre demon in them. The record show. They will not be out. I'm looking for 7 people out of that session that I will take around the world with me. That's my mission. T.D. Jakes says there's no success without successors. And I'm in a special place in my life. God has blessed me. He's given me grace. I feel so very fortunate. And I'm looking forward to touching the lives of the people that come. And I want to say to those of you that are watching this, it's no accident that you're watching at this point in time. Some of you are going through some stuff. Life is interesting. Like Forrest Gump said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. In life, you're either in a problem or just left one or headed toward one. And so we're going to teach you how to tell your story, how to earn money with your story, how to develop collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. This training, we'll have coaches working with you afterwards, and I get a chance. This is rare for me. I'm looking forward to being there with Alicia and Andrew, the Bob Marley mansion. I've never been there before, but this is going to be a sanctuary for us to cultivate the greatness that is in us. I want to leave this with all of the people that are listening, and you know who you are. This is your time. Don't let money stop you. If I told you for the same amount of money, I can get you a McDonald's franchise for that same amount of money, bring it back to me in 24 hours, you would bring it back. You know why? Because you believe a McDonald's franchise will turn a profit for you. God is my witness. If I had a choice between anybody that's watching and a McDonald's franchise, for the same amount of money, I would take the person over McDonald's franchise, because take you 5 years to earn a profit in the McDonald's franchise. And with you, I can help you earn over $100,000 in less than a year, giving free speeches, and with my endorsement, and with my coaching, and with my being in your ear, with me traveling around the world, having you open for me. Trust me on this. When you're around me, your income is going to come up, because you earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. That's when I got all the broke people out of my life. I say, y'all got to go. You don't have to go way bad, but you got to get away from here. People say money won't make you happy, but everybody want to find out for themselves.
And the big message in this, and I want to give a shout out to a few people. I want to give a shout out to Jon Talarico, who helped us pull this stuff together. I want to give a shout out to all of the guys who were on the call tonight. Obviously, Mr. Brown, thank you so much for taking this time to join us this evening. The link to the Jamaica thing is in the chat below. Everybody can see that now. Feel free to go in there. There's limited spaces. We want people to come and immerse themselves in this experience. And I guess the message from all of this, from what you're saying, is that if money's going to come back, right, but your time, it's not. And you need to invest in yourself now. You need to invest in yourself always. And you have to move in the circles of people that are wanting to see you succeed. Is that a nice way to summarize what we've discussed this evening?
Yes. I've heard the saying, and I'm sure you have, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Absolutely. I want to rephrase that.
Yeah.
It's not what you know, it's who you know and who wants to know you. I after agree. They go through this training, people will want to know you because of the impact, because of the transformation. Earl Nightingale was right. He said, all of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. You have greatness in you. And sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. I don't know you, I can't see you, but I can tell you based upon my experience, this is a calling to me on my life. A calling that it took me 14 years to answer. And there's some of you watching and you know who you are. That as much as you have chosen to be on this line right now watching me, as much as you have chosen to venture into this area, you were chosen for that. Answer the call. This has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. You have something special. You have greatness in you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'll see you in Kingston. I think my father's there. He's behind on child support. I will find him. I know he looks just like me. I will find him. He's there or in Nigeria, one of the two places.
Oh, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been totally awesome. And I know we've had literally inundated with questions. There's been loads of people bobbing in and bobbing out. There is going to be a limited time replay of this. If I'm kind enough to give people this replay, I think.
Yeah, you know what? Here's something I'd like to give everybody who's watched this. I have something called 7 Principles of Storytelling. They can email me at lesbrown77@gmail.com. 7 Principles of Storytelling. Email me at lesbrown77@gmail.com, and I'll send that to you for being a part of the webinar today. I hope that you got some value out of it, but to give you some coaching tips on how you can take your next presentation, if it's in sales, multi-level marketing, real estate, finance, whatever. It will enhance your repertoire. Take care. Always strive to get on top in life, because it's the bottomless of a crowded. I appreciate you, my brother.
Hey, we appreciate you, Mr. Brown. Thank you so much for joining us on this session tonight. And thanks everybody for joining and everybody for signing up. The details of the event are below. We'll hope to do this again some point in the future. Maybe we can do it live from Jamaica. Maybe we won't. It's been awesome having you, and I look forward to seeing you on the very next video. Thanks so much, guys. We're out of